And we're live. Hello, guys. Welcome back to the SpursRelated YouTube channel. I hope everyone is doing very well and keeping well and not too hot in this bit of heat wave we've had. I mean, everyone in the UK loves to moan it's too hot, but I'm quite enjoying it. Hope everyone else is too. I'm joined alongside, as you can see, with Jonny Hamme himself. I always get your surname wrong, Jonny, but it's Jonny H.
Jonny H.
3232. I know him as Talking Tottenham because we do a lot of collabs with him on Instagram. And yeah, hope all is well. Jonny, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. As you can see behind me, I've got steam coming out the back of my neck. I got the fire coming out. It's steamy, it's fiery. The only thing that's ice cold right now is Tottenham Hotspur transfer market. But
yeah,
Monday is the 1st of July, and hopefully someone is ready to light the fuse under the fire and get this transfer window going for old Thomas, the Frank engine.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. And listen, yeah, you said it's ice cold. You said not much going on, but it's worth mentioning that yesterday we'll actually start on that, shall we, Jonny?
Yeah.
I know the title of the video is about EZE, but let's start by talking about our new signing to be. We've had the here we go from Fabrizio himself. We've had all the sources to build this one up, and we're just waiting for the club announcement, aren't we, Jonny? But Jonny, I feel like you're probably more of an expert on this guy than me. It sounds like from when we spoke backstage that you know a lot about him. So let the guys know, what can we expect from Takai?
Well, it's quite interesting. I mean, I've got to say, I'm not going to be an ITK that turns around and said, I've watched him since he was 7 years of age and had 3 shredded wheat for breakfast. No. What I can tell you is, having done a deep dive onto him, actually, funny enough, someone mentioned him a while back. I paid absolutely no attention to it. There's no reason to. But listen, the guy, 20 years old, Japanese J-League Young Player of the Year, only the second player ever to come from Kawasaki Frontale to actually achieve that. And he has some outstanding stats. I mean, I was reading them out before, first in clearances, first in headed goals. There's about 5 or 6 stats, and he led every single one of them against his peers in the J-League. Now, obviously, people will say, well, that's the J-League. This isn't the Premier League or European football. And that's 100% valid. But you can only beat and play against, what you're up against.
Correct.
The interesting thing is, he did come across a player you might have heard of in the Champions League, Asian Champions League, and that's someone called Cristiano Ronaldo, who he put in his pocket. Now, we know that Cristiano Ronaldo is absolutely superb. His legs might have gone. There might have been a lot that's gone, but one thing he is unbelievable in the air. He's like hang time, Michael Jordan hang time in the air.
Isn't he 6'4"? Isn't he 6'4", Jonny, or 6'3"?
6'3". Yeah. I mean, some say 6'4", some people say 6'3". I'm not going to argue over an inch. I know some might, but I think for him, he's tall enough and imposing enough. Look, we can all watch the YouTube videos. I posted one on my page, but that doesn't give you a definitive answer. You're looking at the individual moments. But I would say at 6'3", he has the physicality. I think the biggest question, to be honest with you, James, is where does he fit in with the other 9 centre-backs? The interesting thing about him is he can play on the left side. So if he is going to be on the other side, and he is going to, and Ben Davies goes, he can potentially play on the left, which might be a big thing. But counting up all the centre backs right now, I mean, you got Vuskovic, you got Phillips, you got Dorrington, you've got Danso, you've got our Romanian friend, we've got Dragusin, you've got Mickey van der Ven, you've got Romero.
It's about 9, isn't there? About 9.
It's about 9. And then Ben Davis, who I think signed on a new contract, more or less, I would say, to get a reasonable transfer fee. I thought he might have potentially gone to Wrexham.
Right.
But apparently, being a Swansea boy, that's a no-no. But maybe the lure of Hollywood fame will draw him in there. Look, the fact of the matter is, we often, as Spurs fans, and I understand it, we look at signings like this and just go, oh my God, here we go again. But look, let's be honest. Ashley Phillips, 2 million. This guy, 5 million. Bergvall, 8 million. Papa Matasar, 12 million, worth a lot more. Destiny Adogi, 15 million, worth a lot more. Benton Core, 17 million. I could go on. So it's not always, you know, what you pay for it. In fact, we're probably worse when we pay more as a club.
Yeah.
Getting it wrong. And
historically.
Yeah.
100%. You like got Umdon Bele to mention, Lo Celso, Soldado was a good amount at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Janssen, I think, was a good 30 mil. I probably missed a couple there, but I mean they're the standout ones. Jonny, I completely agree with what you're saying. Listen, let me just give my thoughts on it very quickly. I have, similar to you, obviously never heard of him until it was announced. Did my research, and I'm actually I'm not angry that, why haven't we made a big name signing? You know, why haven't we spent 50 million on a centre back? Because actually, in a way, it's promising, right? Because if we're spending less on a centre back, to me, and again, fingers crossed, that points towards hopefully keeping Christian Romero, doesn't it? Because that's the big thing, you know. Christian Romero is linked with Atletico Madrid. If you look at the bookmakers' odds now, he is more likely to stay at Spurs than not. Obviously, that can all change overnight. We know that. But if we're signing more backup options, that to me says that we're not potentially yet looking at any first team options, right? So you can put a spin on that. Secondly, again, doing my research, this guy has already played at national level. Yeah. He's already regarded as one of the best players in the J League. And I know you said, you know, we've got a, you know, with all due respect, the J League isn't a top 5, top 10 league. But at the end of the day, for me, it's a calculated, and it's a calculated risk. There's not even really a risk. It's like 5 million. What's 5 million, Jonny? You probably make that. Probably make that Chris Brown's concert last week. Didn't they? You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, the thing is, look, he's played at level. He had an abductor injury. Otherwise, he probably would have paid more caps for Japan. Although he's only got 4. Don't let that fool you. And also, he's you know, he's played at the Olympics. You know, he's 20 years of age, and he's had some big game experience. Although he might not have played in these J's. Listen, look, I'm not gonna say, oh well, this is fine, and I don't mind, because like if you're asking me, who would I like to have seen as cover for the left side? Well, sorry, competitive player for the left side, and that would have been Piero Hincapié, right?
Yeah.
And at worst ways, an Ndikia. You know, I mean, that for me is what we should be signing. But how do we know that this guy isn't going to go on and have a fantastic career at the club? We don't. So let's see. I mean, the cynical will say Japanese shirt sales. But I don't think they're as fanatical in Japan following one player. You know, he is the David Beckham son. This guy, as well as a good player, he's no David Beckham or Heung-min Son at this stage.
As you said, could potentially grow into it. And I see this on a level signing as, for example, maybe not quite as high as this, but a Sarr. When we signed Sarr, we weren't saying, oh, you know, wow, what a signing. But look how much of a blossomed player he's been, you know, played a lot of first team games. You know, and we got that cheap. I think you even mentioned it yourself. Like, it was less than 10 mil, wasn't it, Jonny? You know?
Yeah. 12 million for Papa Sarr. 15 million for Destiny Adogi. 8 million for Lucas Bergvall.
Yeah, Bergvall, 8 million. Nuts. He's probably already worth 50, 60 minimum.
Well, I mean, exactly. And remember the... Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. We beat Barcelona to a player. If Barcelona wanted that player, they would have got him. Yeah.
Yeah, don't you
And
know
I remember going to QPR pre-season.
Yeah.
And I was sat in the front row, I was with a QPR fan, and I was waxing lyrical about Bergvall. And he says to me, Johnny, calm down, mate. This is QPR. We're absolute toilet. I said, no, he's really good. And I was bigging him up big time. And then he had that game against Galatasaray where it all went Pete Tong and everyone came for me. But I remain steadfast, and I haven't changed my mind. He's just going to be an incredible player. It really is.
Yeah, spot on. Well, anyway, that's enough talking about Kota Takai. Let's see how he does. Let's see how he fits in. And it will be interesting as well. You like we just discussed, where Dorrington goes. Is he going to go out on loan or be sold? And what happens to some of the other fringe players? Let's see what happens, guys. But let us know in the comments below. Can see that the numbers are building in here. I didn't give this live much notice because my organisation skills are piss poor, and they always have been and probably always will be. But no, thanks for everyone tuning in. I think there's already 50 across all socials, which is great. Please do smash a like on the live stream. We'll go for another 30 minutes. I think I've got Johnny booked in for. I'm sure he'll be invoicing me anything over. But no, go and check Johnny out as well on Football Inc. on YouTube. We'll do a YouTube link in the description in just a bit. And just can see Super Spurs TV and Spotlight on Spurs. Great channel, by the way. Johnny, you've probably already been on his channel.
Good guys. Both good guys.
There you go. So go and check out their channels as well. Why not? Let's plug everyone. We're all a community here. But listen, Johnny, let's move on to something else. Let's talk about... Do we talk about EZE next? I think everyone wants to hear about EZE because, listen, guys, are we getting closer to EZE? Potentially. Is there concrete news that we are getting closer? Not particularly. But having said that, and we were speaking about this backstage, weren't we, Johnny?
Yeah.
Actually, we are technically closer in the sense that last week the news broke on Twitter from Paul O'Keefe, who said that we could pay for EZE in 3 £20 million installments. Now, I think the only thing stopping Spurs from going in on EZE, there's clear interest. You know, if you, again, looking at the bookmakers' odds, we're now favourites to sign EZE. I think that installment piece where we could pay 3 £20 million installments, maybe 23 million or whatever it may be. I just think that is Daniel Levy to a T. If he's going to go in on this player and he's not 100% sure, that is a great backup option, isn't it, Johnny, to pay this over maybe 2 years rather than straight up?
Yeah, listen, look, you know, for the last year or so, the rumour is that it was 65 million up front. So that gave Daniel an absolute cop-out why he couldn't cough up the money. Whoever's released this little nugget of information has put massive pressure on Daniel. Because how do you say we can't afford it? Because it's 20 million in 3 installments. Even if it's 20 million each transfer window, he's worth every penny. Look, the guy's 26. You know, the way they're talking, he's too old. Well, he's not 28. Yes, he's going to be 27. But he gets a 5-year contract. He's 32. You know, he's not one of those players that's busting a gut. You know, he's a skill. Listen, he is so Tottenham. It's ludicrous. He oozes Spurs, and you know, 68 goals in 167 appearances. So you know, a lot of those goals. I mean, there was only one player who won the FA Cup. I know others were all. It's a team game, but if you look at him in the quarterfinal, semi-final, and the final, he almost single-handedly won that tournament, that cup for them. He is everything we want. Drifting off of the left, coming through into the middle. The thing is, Daniel, if Daniel delivers this player, he's the one player universally in the fan base. It doesn't happen very often where most of the fan base is agreed upon one player is the one that we all need. Normally it's split. You know, you have 5 or 6, 7 different players that the fan base wants. But if Daniel read the room and sign this player, he would go a long way to appeasing a lot of the fan discontentment that's been over this period. If he's read the room, it's time to act now. Because I'll tell you, if that transfer window closes, when that bill goes on the 1st of September, and we don't have a proper marquee signing, I think all hell's going to break loose. I really do. And this is the player that can alleviate it all and deliver what the fans want. Imagine this guy in the Champions League. Honestly, he's everything. And second of all, people say, well, where are you going to play him? James Maddison's there. Well, James Maddison is called 33 and a third for a reason at Leicester. 33% he's top draw, 33 and a third % he's injured, and the other time he's trying to come back from injury. So he's not going to be playing every game. And there's no reason, I don't think, where you couldn't play Eze and Maddison together in the same team.
Correct. I think you're spot on, Johnny. I wanted to pick up on the point about sort of uniting the fan base with a signing, because I completely agree on this, and I think especially on the fact that the Ange sacking didn't go down well. Johnny, I know your opinion on it. I know you think it was the right decision, but I think it's fair to say that over half the fan base was very angry that Ange was sacked after that Europa League win. And I think, like you said, a signing like this would actually bring those disgruntled fans together and actually have something positive in common that we can all get on board for the new season. And I think you're right as well. If we leave stuff till the last minute, the first Premier League game is, I think, middle of August, right? I believe August 17th or something around that date. So if we haven't made 2, 3, 4 signings, and like you said, one big signing, you just know that first game is going to be A, toxic for Thomas Frank, and B, we're going to get these marches, these ownership, Levy out marches. They happen anyway. But I just think that it's going to be even more big for those that are like almost on the fence, maybe joining that and creating an even more toxic atmosphere. I just see it happening. What do you think?
Especially after the statement. No one asked Daniel to make the statement. Okay. We want to win the Champions League. We want to win the Premier League. So I want to have Margot Robbie round for dinner, but it ain't happening. Right. So, don't make the statement. Don't make the statement. And look at the fixture list we've got coming up. I mean, I know it's pre-season, but we've got Newcastle, we've got Arsenal, we've got Bayern Munich, and then we've got a little game against PSG in Udinese Stadium for the Super Cup. I don't really want him to turn up, 2 days before the transfer window closes, after we've already had 2 games. We want to bed them in. I know he won't take long to bed into because he's a great footballer. I just think this is the guy we need. I mean, how many times did we, as a team, come up against teams with low blocks last season? We could not break them down. This is a guy who picks up the ball the edge of the D, drops his shoulder and curls one or bangs one into the bottom corner of the top corner. We don't really have a player like that. I believe the last player we really had that was probably Gareth Bale.
I was going to say, yes.
I can't think of anyone else who did that. Was that goal against West Ham always comes to mind, where he just in. But, he's done it time and time again for Crystal Palace, just last season.
Correct. And Martin saying don't leave Eze too late or Palace won't sell if they can't find a replacement. This is another key point about timing because, if we don't go for Eze, I'd say in the next 2-3 weeks, probably 2 weeks, right? Let's be honest. Palace, even if they got 70 mil offer, are going to go, no, we can't sell him. We need a replacement. You just can't do a replacement in 2 weeks before a Premier League season starts. And I completely agree with this point. Big Bad Rom saying evening. Big up those people in the chat that are putting comments, including Hansi saying no excuses, Levy, maybe 1st of July. As I said, we've got Super Spurs TV, Spotlight on Spurs. Guys, if you're in watching, there's around 50 of you on Facebook and YouTube. Not sure why I haven't got it set up for Instagram. It probably does make sense considering we've got 74k there. But Again, that's my organisation skills, Jonny.
His biggest audience. Just forget about them.
Yeah. To be fair, it is a fairly new feature on StreamYard. But anyway, we'll sort it out for next time. What I wanted to talk about was these stats. Actually, what I wanted to say when I was bigging up everyone in the chat was, let me know in the comments below if you think Eze will happen. Do you think we will sign him? Let me know in the comments. Everyone put a little comment in. And while you're doing the comment, smash a like on the stream. Smash a subscribe if you're not done so already. And go and subscribe to Johnny's Football Inc. channel, which I'll put the YouTube link on in just a minute. And go and follow Jonny on, there it is on the screen there, at Talking Tottenham 1882. But Jonny, I wanted to...
I'll just interrupt you there. Look, it looks like three hours ago, I've been quite busy. Arno's now joined in, saying that Tottenham are very much considering to sign Eberechi Eze from Crystal Palace this summer. I mean, you know, how many news outlets monitoring, interested? Well, I mean, we've had all the adjectives for a player. Just go and bloody buy him. Just buy him. No, forget the talk. This is one player Spurs fans have been talking about for about 2.5 years.
Yeah, I know. Who said that? Fabrizio 3 hours ago.
It's Fabrizio. Where are we? Hang on a second.
I was trying to find
Fabrizio. Tottenham love outstanding Premier League playmaker as Fabrizio Romano confirms. Hang on.
Well, there you go. It's kind of just not even it's not even an update. It's just to say we're interested, like you said.
Yeah, here we go. Now Fabrizio Romano has given his take on a possible deal and has confirmed Spurs do love the player in a 17-word update. Tottenham love Eze. He's on the list for sure, but no final decision has been made yet.
Well, we need to make that decision within, I'd say, the next week, personally. I mean, what are we waiting for? We know how quality is. For me, Jonny, I would say, I want to bring up these stats. For me, I would say Eberechi Eze is genuinely good enough to play for a Bayern Munich. Because if you think about it, he's on level with Elise, who went over there a season or two ago, right? And he's smashing it for Bayern Munich. He gets into their team, especially off the bench quite often. I don't think he's any worse than I think, honestly, Eze could play for Man City. Eze could play for Bayern. For me, I think he's top draw. Why would you not go for him?
Yeah, you're 100% right. I actually thought that Bayern Munich would come in for him last January or this summer due to his fantastic relationship with Elise at Palace. Yeah. They kept missing each other in that final season. Elise had a really bad injury. He was out for quite a long time. Then he came back. Then Ebbs got injured, and they were backwards and forwards, flip-flopping. But whenever they played together, they had like this telepathic understanding.
Correct.
And Thomas Frank, in fairness, in the videos, if you watch them, he talks about the understanding between players, pairing up players to understand their game, not as individuals, but you know, where does he make the run? How does he like to make the run? If both players understand each other and they study each other, it makes a huge difference on the pitch. Some people are just a natural understanding, like, for example, Shearer and Sutton, or Kane and Sonny.
Yeah.
There's been lots of them if you look through the football annuals. But, you know, you need that. He's an intelligent player, and I think, you know, someone like him and Porro or him and Maddison would link really, really well together.
Correct. Yeah. And that's the thing. You need to create these partnerships that I feel like we're starting to build last year, but only really in that Europa League campaign. Let's be honest. The Premier League was an absolute travesty, putting it nicely. And I think, you're right. We need quality everywhere on that pitch and creating partnerships, you know, whether that is, like you just said, you know, a Maddison linking up with Eze, or is it Solanke linking up with Eze? I think they could prove to be an absolute handful. You know, Eze just behind Solanke. You got Johnson on the right, back post tap-ins. Perfect. Tell taking on his man on the left. I think he's going to come good under Frank. It would be such an exciting front four. We've got the option to do that. There is no excuse. Like, the more I think about it, the more annoyed I get, because I'm thinking, 60 to 70, even if it's 70 million, Johnny, we've spent 60 million or 50 million on Ndombele before, and that was 5 years ago. I mean, it's a joke.
I know. Why, why worry? Why are you worrying about it? I got to be honest with you. I wasn't overly enamored about spending, 35, 40 million euros on Matthias Tell. But, because I didn't want it to affect the possibility of signing an Eze or the rest of it. But when I look at someone like Matthias Tell, sorry, just going off on a tangent here, just quickly, he reminds me a bit of Bueno when he first came to Brentford. He had unbelievable pace. It caused all sorts of problems, but the problem was he was always snatching at chances, and his finishing was poor, really poor. But it's something he's worked on tirelessly, and what we saw, how that's progressed in the last sort of 18 months. And I think he probably sees Thomas Frank the same sort of player that he can develop, because there's no doubt Matthias Tell has got great feet. He's got the ability to come inside and shoot, as we saw against the goal he scored against Denmark to win that game. I think he could be his Brian Mbeumo.
Correct. No, completely agree. And players have to start somewhere, especially under a new manager. And, some of them just suddenly fly. I think of, for example, Anthony Martial worked very, very well under a couple of the managers at Man United. And then a couple of the managers, he was terrible when he got sort of thrown out in the end, didn't he? So, certain players work well under different managers. It'd be interesting to see how all of them do, of course. But, I think Maddison, will he feel threatened if an Eze did come in? Again, maybe you can fit them both in, like you said, Johnny. But listen, let's bring up those stats just very quickly on Eze, because I know you mentioned it was 60-something goals in 100.
68. I think it's 40 goals, 28 assists. I think.
Well, in the league, we've got 8 last season, 11 and 10 the seasons before. Pretty consistent goal scoring, even assists as well. 8 goals, 8 assists last season in 34 appearances, and even the FA Cup. What an FA Cup campaign Palace had, of course, but Eze a massive part of that. 5 matches, 4 goals, 1 assist, a goal contribution a game. Can't ask for much more than that, can you?
No.
He's
had a few injuries. He's had a few injuries,
Correct.
So, those numbers would be considerably better had he not had those. But, that's part and parcel of being a football player, unfortunately. Ashraf's asked me, Johnny,
I was going to bring this up, Johnny. Absolutely. No, go ahead. Yeah.
Am I concerned that Lang's blocking the likes of Phillips, Dorrington, Moore, etc.? I think there obviously has to be a concern about that. I think, look, Alfie Dorrington's done very well. I used to watch him in the academy games, and he showed lots of promise. Had a really, really bad injury. Took a long while to come back. But he had a really good loan spell at Aberdeen, which culminated in winning the cup.
Yeah.
So leave Spurs, win a trophy. That's normally what happens.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest with you. I've always liked Phillips. 6'5", really quick, physical specimen. Did really, really well at Stoke last year. Again, I think both of those will go out on loan. If one player could potentially come back, it could be Phillips. But there again, you've got Vuskovic, who's absolutely ripping up trees. Now, I would have said to you, if Ange had stayed, that Vuskovic has got no chance of getting any game time under Ange, purely because the high line, I don't think Vuskovic has got the pace for that high line.
Yeah, I don't.
So, I don't know. Look, cream always rises to the top. And if Takai is better than all of them, then so be it. But don't forget, this is Tottenham Hotspur. We normally have half our squad out injured. So, this whole thing about, well, then when are they ever going to start? Well, I'll tell you when they're going to start, when we've had 4 injuries. And please bear in mind that unlike the Europa League, where we're resting half of the squad to play Elfsborg and the likes and Karabag, we're going to be playing the best teams. You can't rest anybody. So imagine playing like a Real Madrid on the Wednesday, and on the Saturday you're playing Liverpool or Newcastle.
which is possible, very possible.
Yeah, of course it is. You need strength in depth.
Yeah, I'm going to do a separate video on the run-in essentially to Christmas, because it very much is a run-in, even from about September onwards when the Champions League comes in. You've got basically a game every 3 days, which is nuts, especially when we're in all 4 competitions still. So we'll do a video on that. Let's see how long we are in the League Cup and Champions League 4, because well, there's mixed feelings on that. I'm trying to be positive though, I'm trying to be positive. But guys, whack in for the last 10 minutes of this stream. We'll do 10 more minutes. Whack in any comments you have for Jonny and I, whether that's to do with Eze, whether that's to do with Takai, whether that's to do with Thomas Frank and what to expect. And as I said, I'm going to do some more videos coming up, some probably with the man himself, Jonny. I want to do some videos more about the tactics and how we may set up under Thomas Frank, and obviously these new transfer links that are coming in. Well, they've got a bit quiet actually last 2 or 3 days.
What about Norgard? I mean, what do people think about in the chat about Christian Norgard?
Jonny, you read my mind. We're telepathic today. Norgard to Arsenal. Here we go, as per Fabrizio Romano 2 hours ago. As Jonny's just asked, what do we think? Jonny, I'll start with you. Do you think we've missed a trick there? Because apparently it's only 13 million or something silly.
Yeah, well, I think it was even 10 million. But look,
how can it only be 10 million? I swear he signed a new contract like last season.
I'm not quite understanding. He's 31 years of age. He's captain. We were led to believe he had a very, very close relationship with Thomas Frank. But is it a bit like Alex Ferguson used to have when he was manager of Man United? There comes a point when you've listened to the same person for years and years and years that you almost switch off. When he got rid of players like Jaap Stam and David Beckham and the likes. And people question that, like, how could you get rid of them? Look, I'm surprised. Now, is it because he doesn't want to be with Thomas Frank because he's worked with him for 5 years and he wants another challenge? It can't just be for the Champions League because Tottenham are in the Champions League. Is it because Thomas Frank himself has decided, look, I want a monster 6. If he's building for the next generation, for the next 3, 4, 5 years, he needs a monster 6. There's no point bringing in a Christian Norgard who's going to play 1 or 2 years at max. He wants someone who's going to bring in, who's going to, for me, 25 million, go and buy Douglas Luiz from Juventus or a Yao Gomez. But they're players that are going to give you a bit more longevity. But it is a strange one. And, Arsenal fan TV must be a meltdown today. They're waiting for a Sesko and a Gyökeres, right? And what have they got? Kepa, right? Who can't stop dropping. I mean, everyone remember Spurs versus Bournemouth last season when they were 2-1 up, and somehow he managed to make 2 absolute howlers to make it 2-2. They got Kepa for 5 mil, and they bought in Norgard. Not what Arsenal fans were hoping for.
Yeah, it's a bit mediocre so far from their end, isn't it? But we'll take it all day long. But I think they're going to get that Sesko or Gyökeres, as you were just saying. I think there's more to come. But anyway, I don't want to talk too much about Arsenal. I want to talk more about, who we think we could sign as a 6, Jonny, because I did a video on it the other day, and I think a Paulinha would be a good buy. But I also had a lot of people saying he's getting on a bit and he's maybe a bit clunky. What do you think?
Listen, I've liked Paulinha for a number of years, but I'm now erring on the side of, look, in Thomas Frank's system, he overloads the flanks. That's what he likes to do. So there is space to come down the middle. And so you need someone who's really good at reading the game and intercepting. And for me, Douglas Luiz, Prem proven, not a problem. I mean, a lot of people, listen, I'm a massive fan of Bentancur and Papassar. Papassar's got great legs. I'm not talking about shapely. I'm talking about how well he runs. and I think people forget how young he is. He's still learning the role. And Thomas Frank, unlike Ange Postecoglou, and I don't want to bring him down, but he is hands-on. He will be in his ear. He will be looking at every single tape of him. He'll be looking how far he runs, how he runs. Is he optimizing his runs?
Yeah.
What are you? Like strikers. I look at someone like Dom Solanke, and it infuriates me.
Really?
It infuriates me watching him last season, dropping deep again and again and again. You're not prime Harry Kane, okay? You're not going to drop deep and then spray a pass 20 yards out. If you want to get the best out of Dom Solanke, you play him like Areola did, off the shoulder. And I think the same will happen with with Bentancur and Bergvall and Papa Sarr, that he will utilize them far better in their roles. But I still think 100% we need a monster six. I think without the six, Thomas Frank's system is going to struggle. I never understood how Ange didn't do that. He preferred to play with 2 8s. He had the wing backs playing as 10s. He had 2 8s. I mean, it was all a mishmash for me. This is going to be better.
Good point. Yeah, I mean, linked with what you've just explained there, Ashraf is saying, do you think we'll shoehorn Bentancur or Sarr into the six, or perhaps will we buy a monster six, as you're saying? What do you think will happen?
I want to look on the positive. I want to forget it's Daniel Levy, right?
Yeah,
and just think that we're going to buy a monster six. I really do think. Listen, he's going to be fluid in his formations. He will change formations mid-game. We're going to see a lot of that, but I don't think he's going to want to go for a dramatic turn from Ange's system, because that will be very difficult, and could start the season very badly. So what he might do is just not invert the 2 wing backs. You look at someone like Destiny Udogie, right? When he was at Udinese, didn't stop picking up the ball wide, cutting inside, getting assists, scoring goals. Last season for Spurs, he was so inverted, almost as a 10. He got 1 assist.
Yeah, weird, isn't it?
You're going to see minor tweaks like that. Keep them wide. Listen, there's a lot to be hopeful for, but he needs to be backed. I think we can all agree on that.
Correct. Well, we'll soon see what happens in terms of incomings, hopefully. Anyway, Hansi's saying we need a left back more. We can come on to that in perhaps a minute. We are getting towards the end of the stream. However, I did want to mention this, Jonny, because I'm sure you have seen it. I haven't got the video, but did you watch the documentary they released last night? And what did you think on Ange? And just quickly, I'll be honest, I started getting a little bit emotional about it, because that was some speech. You got to be honest, Jonny. Come on. I know you're not the biggest fan of Ange.
No, listen, look. Unfortunately, look, as a philosopher and as a wordsmith, fantastic. Unfortunately, as a football manager at this high level, you need to have a combination of that and tactical acumen. And I just feel that as a motivator, and look, he couldn't motivate them to win 22 times in the league last year, right? Yeah. Okay, so whilst it's commendable, and there will always be a legend, he'll walk into this club along with everyone else that was in that squad, and they'll forever be a legend. Just like you look at Ozzy and all the players from the FA Cups and the European trophies who are still being trotted out. That's what awaits the likes of the Romeros and all the others, should they come back to White Hart Lane. Yeah. As I said, thank him. But if he said you can't have a run in a European competition, a lesser European competition with not a lot of great teams, and have a league run, how was he going to run in the Champions League and the Premier League? How bad was it going to be then? I think he was a great wordsmith and a great talker, but that was one element of talking that I thought he talked himself down a blind alley. And for me personally, for someone who goes home and away, to hear that he'd given up in January in the league, for me, it didn't sit very well, because I was just wondering whether I could have a refund for all
thousands of pounds you'd spent up and down the country. 100%,
100%.
No, but having said that, Jonny, playing devil's advocate, I know you like that word.
Yeah.
would you have said, if I said to you in January we're going to give up on the league, but we're going to win Europa League, you'd have taken it, wouldn't you? Surely.
But I don't believe we needed to give up the league. I always wanted to listen. Spurs. Let's not beat around the bush. Spurs were favourites to win the Europa League right at the beginning. Manchester United were second favourites. We were favourites. Okay, so it's not like we beat the odds. We beat the odds, and we were outsiders. And Bodo Glint, Elfsborg, Carrier Bag. We beat a good Frankfurt team who were missing a couple of players, right? Mario Götze went off injured in the away leg very early, 5 minutes into the game, which was a huge miss for them. They'd sold Mamouche. Eki Tete was missing his partner. But listen, it was a great battling defensive performance. Ange changed his tactics, and I take my hat off to him. And it was a great win. It was a great night.
Correct. Listen, Ange is gone now. Like it or not, it's all about the Thomas the Frank engine, as Jonny said earlier. We're a couple more minutes, and then we'll wrap things up, guys. There is about 60 of you watching on YouTube. Class numbers, to be fair, considering I've done about 2 lives in about a year. But this is coming back more consistently now. We are back. While I have got everyone's attention, please do like the video because it helps the channel out massively. And I really appreciate everyone's comments this evening. It really has kept Jonny and I entertained. Please do subscribe to Spurs Related if you haven't done so already on YouTube. That is the main one we're trying to push. But importantly, please go and check out Jonny's channel, Football Inc., where he goes, well, I'll let Jonny plug it actually, but he goes live with Sean Butler himself, Spurs Talk Show. Jonny, what's coming up on Football Inc.?
Well, we just every day we do 1 hour show, and at the moment it's a 1 hour show just about transfers and any news on football. So if you're interested in football, come and pop along to the channel. We're growing very, very quickly. We've only been going like a couple of months, and already we've got over 2,000 subscribers, and that's growing, getting a good few thousand watching. And as the season goes on, we'll be discussing everything from football finance to every game, every controversy of football around the world. And we invite everyone to come along and chat. So if you click on the link and hit a subscribe, that'd be great. And you'll get notified whenever we go live. And it's a good fun show. It's not all serious.
Love it. Go and sub to Football Inc. I put it in the comments, but if you're on your phone or whatever, literally Football Inc. with a 1 as the I, you'll find that. Go and check them out. I think they did a live stream earlier about free transfers, which looks like it did pretty well, Jonny. So great stuff, mate. I've been watching as well. It's a great channel. And Jonny, appreciate your time today. Last question for the chat and for Jonny. Everyone in the comments that are still watching, whack in your dream 3 signings this summer. And if you want to put a bit of detail as to why, amazing. But for example, EZE, Paulinha, and maybe a Semenyo. Jonny, I'm going to hand over to you on that question because I like asking this question.
Okay.
What's your dream 3 signings?
EZE, Ashwan Dashari, and Douglas Luiz.
Okay, well, ex-Villa Douglas Luiz.
Yeah, who's now at Juventus.
Interesting. Because you think he'll be the Monster 6?
I think he's perfect for us. Yeah, it's perfect for us. I wanted him when he was at Villa, but he wanted to go to Juventus. Who can blame him? We're bigger than Spurs. Spurs were nowhere at the time. And if I had to throw in a 4th one, it would be Piero Hincapié, who can play at left back and left centre back, and is an absolute monster.
We've been linked with him for a couple of different windows, haven't we? So, that always comes up, and then Tapsoba comes up as well, always.
Yeah, I've been 4 years on this guy since the World Cup, the last World Cup. I mean, it's over 3 years now on this guy.
Not surprised. Talk to me about the second player you mentioned, because I don't hear that one mentioned quite as much.
Club Bruges. Swiss international, unbelievable. I was doing it with Sean, talking to Sean about him, and he looked up the stats. His stats, FB Ref's stats, are ridiculous. His carries are incredible. His passing is fantastic. He was valued at 20 million euros when I started talking about him. Yeah. He's now been linked with AC Milan, who have bid 25 million. That was turned down. They've now bid 30 million. That's been turned down. They're now wanting 40 million euros. Wow. And it looks like Manchester United have now started sniffing around. It's not really big in the news, but have a look. But look at him, Ashwan Deshari, Club Bruges. Remember, you heard it here.
There we go. Maybe we'll get that clipped up for the Instagram later, Jonny. Ashwan Deshari, probably butchered that name. Go and have a look. I have heard of him, but I'll tell you what, I couldn't tell you 3 things about him. So there you go. Anzi's saying Eze and Buemo and Guehi would be his. Billy Andrews, welcome on in, mate. Nice to see a new face. He's saying Walker Peters and Spence can play left back as well as right back. Yep, very versatile. Maybe
and homegrown. Don't forget Cole Walker Peters.
Walker Peters helps the homegrown problem that we do have coming up. Hansi saying, but now Semenyo and Ashraf, who's been loving the comments this live stream. Love that, mate. He's saying Douglas, Louise, Kudus, and Eze. What's your thoughts on Kudus very quickly? I know I said that was the last one, Jonny.
Very good player, but he needs to be more consistent. That's it.
Correct.
You know?
Correct. Yeah, no, I'd go with that. Anyway, let's hope in the next sort of 48 hours or so, I'm getting a bit restless, see more news on Eze. And hopefully, as Jonny said, it's not just regurgitated words like we're interested or, you know, we fancy Eze, because let's be honest, monitoring or, close to signing, But anyway, guys, like I said, go and check out Jonny's Football Inc. channel. Jonny, really appreciate you coming on today, mate. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, man.
Go and check out Talking Tottenham 1882 on Instagram. Subscribe to Spurs Related. Like this video, and I'll be back again tomorrow for another live or video. So you can actually whack on those notification bells as well, so you never miss a video or a live stream. It's so easy to do. Just literally click on the bottom under Spurs Related and click the bell and just turn on the noties. It's free to do so. And I appreciate everyone's comments. Appreciate everyone's interactions today. And yeah, guys, remember, as always, come on, you Spurs!